Hey everyone, you are watching the Chatty Curator channel, another episode of our special series with me and Monica spilling the tea about just, well, anything to be honest. How are you, Monica?
I'm good, Arthur. How are you?
Very good, thank you, thank you. So do you have your tea with you?
Of course, Arthur.
We both just watched a very interesting video about Japanese TV shows. They have the reaction video they call wipe, just kind of like on the corner of the screen or something like that, showing people how people react. What do you think after watching that video?
I must say that I kind of grew up with it because, in Malaysia, we watch a lot of Asian channels and shows, and it's very common to us to actually have that little box and watch different reactions at the same time. And it's very entertaining because, you can get different dimensions. Sometimes it's the actors or the entertainers themselves looking at themselves and reacting to what they have been exposed to. It is actually quite funny, and I don't actually see that quite common in the Western entertainment shows.
I think that bit had been replaced when YouTube kicks in those reaction videos, which is quite popular these days. I think in the West, that's how they adapt it, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, actually, the appearance of celebrities reacting to things, I mean, that would probably help that Japanese channel quite a bit.
No, yes, because people like to see how people react to different things. Like, recently, one of my favorite show on TV is Gogglebox.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very strange. You're watching people reacting to TV shows that they watch, right? What is the content of the show? But it's very entertaining. We are like watching people like us watching TV shows.
Well, I mean, it's even a little bit of what we're doing right now, that we are reacting to what we saw, isn't it? It's almost like it's almost like Inception a little bit. And it can be funny and disturbing at the same time, because it's funny because it gives us an idea of what's happening. But then it's also disturbing in a way that because it's almost like instructing people to react. Like, the thing is sometimes I don't like when I'm watching sitcom, there's a laughing track. It's a little bit like, what, am I supposed to laugh now? I mean, it's not that funny. It's not that funny. I mean, why? Why should I like it so much? But I mean, it's
funny you say that. Yeah, because when I was in the US, I think I had attended one with my friend, and I asked my friend, I was like, why is that guy holding up that board and say applause? Why is that guy holding up? I said, is that part of the show or what? And he's like, no, this is for us. I said, for us to do what? To do exactly what the board says. I don't understand, but I understand the Japanese one, which I have grown up with. I don't understand the American one, like holding a board up like applause. I'm like, applause what?
Even our generation or the younger generation, that we grew up, we're growing up or grew up in the media culture, that there's a fine line between the time that when someone tell you how you should feel, and this is not a good idea. Like, I find myself most comfortable when I get to express myself the way it is. And sometimes sometimes I have a problem that I don't really have much of a filter. Trust me, I try really hard in the workplace not to let that show. No, I mean, not to be inappropriate to a point that I get complaints. But anyway, but the thing is, I think if this helped me to enhance my experience, like those laughing track or the applause board or the wipe with the little video on the corner, if it helped me enhance my experience or see my favorite celebrity dropping by, that would be great. But as long as it is not instructing me how to feel, because I just think that sometimes you know, I mean, the whole thing about living in this media culture, or for the younger generation to grow up with the media culture, it has to the point that it's a little bit like, I need to know how I really feel, otherwise I'll be in a really bad mental state. I think I can't speak for the entire population, or I can't speak for most men, but then from what I've noticed is that many men, that they don't express themselves so easily. And I don't know. I mean, for me, if I have a bad feeling, that, you know, keeping it in, just like, you know, have you ever have time that you want to vomit, but then you keep that in and it come out even more nasty? So it feels a little bit like that. So I just think that, like, nope. I'm just gonna like,
Yeah.
It is something that it took me a long time.
Yeah, when I was doing my PhD, there was a period of time, too much stress inside, you know, and as an Asian growing up, we are expected to manage it internally. You know, Asian people don't express too much of how they feel, how they think of others, or whether they're happy, not happy. And then there are hierarchical constraints, like who you can talk to, like you shouldn't talk when people more elderly than you are talking, that sort of thing. So you are just trying to manage it yourself. You can of course talk to your friends, but sometimes you feel that will they understand? And believe me, when you're doing PhD, you don't actually have many friends. Okay, wow. So then I start to bottle up. And then I thought, and also one thing about, you know, expressing what we feel and expressing our opinions in Asian culture is something that needs to be done in a very controlled manner. You shouldn't have explosion, or you shouldn't have exaggerated, you know, I don't know, ways of expressing yourself. And one thing, I don't know why, there is a stigma that Asian people think if you go and see a counselor, you're weak.
Yeah,
you're just, yes. You can't manage it yourself. You have to go and talk to a stranger. What's wrong with you, right? But I did. I went, and I'm glad I saw the counselor at the university. And I sat down, I said, I don't know what is going on. You know, I'm so stressed. I think I cannot do this anymore. And then she's like, this is called volcanic syndrome. I'm like, what is that? She said, it's like, you know, it's boiling inside and it's building up the pressure. And one day when you can't cope it, can't put the lid on anymore, explosion. I thought, oh, okay. So then she's like, okay, this is a little exercise I want you to do. Take it home. And this is a CD-ROM during those times, okay? That's how old. A CD-ROM, go home, switch it on, and follow what the man, it's a man, very calming voice, instruction, how to meditate. And then you see if you want to come back and see me. And that's it, you know, she didn't say you must come back next week, you know, this is a medication. No, she just gave me a very simple exercise, which I use until today with some of my students. When I see them get stressed, I say, okay, do this exercise, okay? And then that's it, done. I'm fine. So that is something really important. I'm glad you bring it up, like the way we express ourselves and the need to do it. We shouldn't be ashamed of it, you know, and we should find our own way. Of course, I don't like people exploding around me all the time. And if I explode around my colleagues all the time, they will be like, what's wrong with her? But it's not that kind of things we are talking about. It is I think when explosion happens, that's really when we haven't found a way to express and manage our feelings, our emotions, and things like that. I've been through times in the past where I bottled up too much, and then it just went really bad. And afterwards, and I thought, why did I do that? Why? I could have managed it better, but sometimes that's just happen.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned the cultural influence in that, because in the last episode, we talked about growing out of our past, the construct that we were expected of. And, I mentioned about in my early to mid 20s, that's the time that when I rocket myself away from what I was expecting. That was actually one of them, because, like school time, high school, something like that, that I spent a lot of time amongst the Asian community. So, and even people I'm closest to, that I don't think it was ill-intended advice, but looking back, I'm kind of glad that I didn't take those up, because this is like a diarrhea. You don't even let it out when you're on the toilet. Seriously, you don't do that. And then the thing is, I think I'm never ashamed of admitting that, I even have my mental health care plan organized. I am talking to a psychologist, because I know that my life and my identity is complex, and that would affect how I personally expecting and interacting with the world. And then, that's why I think it's a good thing. And yes, there are people who not only think that it's weak and sometimes even use it against me, but I know that those people are just people that I definitely should not be in my orbit with. And frankly, if these days that if someone in a workplace do that, then they can get sued. So that's an important thing. But then if someone in my social circle do that to me, then I'll just know that these people are not my friend. I just tell them to fuck you with something hard and sandpapery, and then move on with my life and find new friends. And and it's I know it might be a little bit heavy, but then I think we just need to be mindful that it's a little bit like, it's true, because someone's cultural experience or cultural background would have something to do with how they deal with what they feel. As long as you don't tell me how I feel, I can figure out how I feel and then work with it and then find a way to make it work for me. That would be great. But I think in a way that I would like, if I think maybe I'll just use this video as an opportunity to just kind of like talk to anyone, no matter who you are, is that sometimes you let yourself to be yourself, and you can feel bad, and you don't need to feel fantastic every single day. Because have you seen those horror movie that like there are people like having such a great time and then smiling, but then with a tear coming out of their eyes, that kind of thing. I was like, just kind of like picture if you have to live like that. I mean, if it is a movie, it's acting. But then if it is like someone's life, someone that live like that, it's like, no. I mean, for me, it's a little bit like there are days that I don't want to do anything. I feel a little bit off. Not that, I am dealing with like anxiety and depression, but then at the same time, I'm also allowing myself time. It's like, I can feel bad. I can feel bad. And there are days that I don't want to leave home. Then I'll stay the fuck home. Someone related to me. But then it's a little bit, they're very against the idea of getting a psychologist. And it's just kind of like, they think just their theory is that they just want your money. And then I was like, well, imagine the shit that they have to hear every single day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. They kind of deserve the money.
Yeah, that's right. And I must say that they are, I have heard some really bad ones, but we must respect that profession. They are trained and they have methods to help people, right? Of course, if you go to one and it doesn't work for you, you seek second opinion. Just like any other medical advice, you do that. But we should not just shut it down because, people around us think that they have certain perception and say, if you go there, then you're not managing it yourself. You're not a strong person. I have a very good friend and she was struggling to complete her PhD. She had given birth to a baby, already having a baby is stressful. And that on top of that, you have to finish your PhD. Imagine that kind of pressure, right?
Wait, at the same time?
At the same time.
Whoa, that's a bit much.
Yeah, so then she felt that she was not managing it well. Then she thought, maybe I go see a doctor, right? And one of her family members said, and she was thinking of giving up the PhD. She's like, because baby, my family, I want to look after my baby, so maybe I would
you can delay a PhD or give up a PhD. You can't delay or give up the baby.
That's right. So she's making a choice, right? She's like talking to a family member and say, maybe I will stop my PhD. It was very close. The family member say, oh, okay, yeah, give up, give up. You always give up in the past anyway. So why not just give up? That was so tough. The person is trying to manage and seeking advice, seeking support, and it's an Asian family. And then she was crying and she said, and I say, okay, if I don't give up, maybe I go and take medication. I see a doctor, just to manage. Nah, why take medication? Why? Oh, you can manage it yourself? Oh my God. She will come to me and cry. And I say, look, you take the medication if you think it helps you for this period of time, because you can't find any other way to manage this. And if you choose not to give up your PhD, and I told her, you're so close. You're 90%, you only have 10% left. 10%, maybe tell your husband to look after the baby. Tell him I only need 3 months, okay? 3 months, and then I'm done, right? Just go and seek help. Go around and see who can help you and help yourself. And she managed it. She graduated with a PhD and everything. But that kind of pressure you can imagine, it's not just the stress and the pressure itself. It's the people who have ways of their own thinking about how you should manage it. And Arthur, I must tell you this, as an Asian woman, it's not easy, because we are brought up in that way that we should listen to advice by people who are older than us, our family members who care about us. We should listen to their advice. And sometimes, and this is what I have also found out in one of my class, I asked my students, right? I always ask them every trimester. I say, okay, foresee yourself in 10 years time. Where would you be? What would you be doing? And then they will have to type up a little survey about what they will become in 10 years time. And all my students, I think in that class, were Asian. I think they are all Asian. Half of the class are female. The other half are male. Male students were like, oh, I'll be doing AI. I'll start my own business. I'll be doing this, that. The female students, I will keep studying and I'll build up my confidence. Then I will become an accountant, a professional. I will keep learning from this and that. And that is so obvious. Asian girls growing up, taking too much advice, looking for too much instructions, maybe, or,
It's actually, it obviously is a combination of like culture and gender. But on the gender note, I just want to break it down with you a little bit. I don't know about you, like, let me know if you've seen something similar, but in the workplace, if there's a male who has an idea, like, 40-50% of an idea, they will push it out there like they can do it or whatever, even they are horrible at their job. But then there are so many women that they are really talented, they know what they're doing, they may be 90, 95%, 98% figuring something out, but they want to wait until it's perfect to put it out there.
That's
And
right.
I just felt that, I felt like, you know, there are female colleagues that I used to work with that I'll be like, just give it a go, girlfriend. It's a little bit like, you can do it. Because the thing is, many of them know a bit more than their male counterparts, to be honest. I'm not shit talking people, male in the workplace, but it's almost like a pattern that,
Yes.
It's like, it's so strange, but I can also see the other side from it. So tricky. It's so tricky to get yourself away from it, because you know, sometimes that we might have the idea of, oh, am I abandoning my family or people advising me to? And the thing is, to me, I can only speak for myself. I take the advice, I keep it as advisement, but I filter it the way that it might or might not fit me. And sometimes there's some things that doesn't fit me now, it might fit me in the future, or the other way around. And you know, the thing is, I always believe that, I always try to tell myself to believe that these people who gave me this advice or idea, they were well intended.
Yeah.
But I have to filter them out. But it took me so long.
And you have to make your own decision. You have to make
it. Absolutely. I think, and I must admit, like, you know, it took me such a long time to learn it. And the thing is, I think I've gone through really difficult times in my early to mid 20s, and I think, like, you know, that. But then it was really painful. But I'm so glad that I did that. So, you know, it's so weird, isn't it?
You know, I can't even remember. Maybe more than 10 years ago, as a friend, you know, send these random emails with an attachment. I say, have you heard of midlife crisis? But maybe you haven't heard of quarter life crisis. I'm like, ooh, what's that? Quarter life crisis actually is true. You know, you were so confused. Everyone's trying to give you advice, and then but you are told to do things in a certain way, or even express yourself in a certain way. You're struggling to find that own way of doing things. It is tough. I must admit, same as you, it was a confusing period for me. Like late 20s. You would think, oh, that's the best time of your life, you know, so young, and you're single, you have money, you spend whatever on your own, but it's so confusing. It's just so confusing. And you have multiple, like, gender thing and cultural thing, and everything is spinning around you. You're like, oh, so exhausting, you know. Now I actually feel much settled. I know this is the way I deal with things. Sometimes my mom say I don't like it. I say, well, it's me.
It's so interesting because, like, you know, it's if you think about it this way, it's like, how do I put it? The quarter life crisis is actually quite tricky, because for many people, I would imagine that not only us, that many people would experience it too, is a little bit like, there's also a deadline of 30. That, and then when you are confused, but you also have a deadline, then usually that's how you fuck things up. And then, but if for some reason that we got audience of people in their 20s or going through the quarter life crisis, I would put it this way. Think about your high school exam, which you think is the end of the world and the first deadline in your life. Is the same with 30s. Once you pass this, it's a little bit like, oh, that's it? Oh, there's actually a lot more in life after that. And it's a little bit like, you know, I mean, in this day and age, I'm happy to tell people that I'm in my 30s, because you know what, I made my mistake, and then, you know, so a lot of them. But anyway, let's not go there. But it's so strange. But then I'm glad that I went through that really tricky period to look after my well-being and my mental health. And I think it would be great that, you know, if we, by sharing these stories, that we can really encourage people to be open about what they're dealing with. I mean, it's 2021. It's finally good for people to just talk about their feelings, finding tools to help them. Like, you know, for example, like you mentioned about the going to see a counselor, and then they found a way to how to learn meditation. Meditate. Sorry.
Yes.
And for me, I use my mental health care plan, talk to a psychologist, and sometimes that, you know, I think one of the big reasons is not only these people are professionals that I pay for, but also I don't want that to be a burden of my friends to like, because I know that they mean well, but what they say might not always be good for me. Oops.
And they may not know how to help you.
Exactly. So that's why, that's another reason that I didn't want to be their burden, because they might just not know. Maybe they're going through something similar themselves.
That's right. Yeah. And all of us have our biases. We don't know. We meant well, like what we have talked about in the previous episode, but sometimes we just may not have the right way, method, approach, or means to actually help.
Absolutely. I think, you know, like you said previously, we are not perfect. We know we still have plenty to work on ourselves. But I think something like this series would be good for people to share experience and just be open about who they are and what they're going through. Just a quick reminder, like 2021, we're in the 2020s. That is finally good and okay. Not only okay, it's good and empowering for people to talk about how they're feeling and how it is affected them, and learn the tools to deal with it.
And then back to the point that you made just now, that you say at work, right? Some men are very, in general, actually, I totally agree with you. Men are more risk-taking. They're happy to share their ideas, even though it's half-cooked, right? But
lucky if they are half-cooked. Some of them not even cooked. It's still raw and like pulsating blood and things like that.
Then you have to see in the meeting room, there are more men like that, like them, who will agree that they should pursue those ideas, right? But if women do that, they will have to scrutinize it more and ask for this, ask for that. And there is a difference. So we should actually acknowledge the difference and maybe deal with it a bit differently, and hear people of different background, different roles, different gender, whatever the difference is, hear them out. And then just use active listening. Don't put your own biases on. Just listen actively. Maybe there's something good. But on the flip side, Arthur, men are also less likely to share their feelings and express themselves. And that actually is very sad, because we always see all these reports that say the suicidal rate is actually higher among men than women. Women are more open to sharing their feelings and talking about their problems with their peers, or, you know, with whoever they are close with. But men, on the other hand, they don't do it enough. They may not acknowledge they have a problem, or they are taught by their parents, you are strong. Don't cry. You know, boys don't cry. You don't have to do this. You can manage this. So these are the things that we can see their differences. We should actually help bridge the differences and bring everyone together and say it's okay to talk about it. You know, it's not a problem if you show your weak side. And what is a weak side? I mean, to have the courage to talk about something is actually not being weak.
Yeah, it's strength. I think the best way that I can put it is a little bit like, you know, we are, actually there are some research in last year or in the previous years, there's a few researchers say that diversity can actually bring organizations or businesses more profit because it gives them more angles to do it. In my opinion, when I was reading them, my initial reaction is this is an opportunity to lift people up, especially to the workplace example. It's a little bit like we can lift up, for example, we can lift up other, say, men or cis men or people that are male identifying to be open about how they feel to achieve a better mental health. And then for our female identifying colleagues to just say, empower them to voice out their ideas, opinions, and collaborate. And I think this is the part that I think it would be great that maybe something like what we're doing right now, just to talk about it and open, and hopefully that would attract a community of people that we will lift each other up. Because to me, I feel that if we find a way to lift each other up, surround yourself with your tribe and surround yourself with people that means well, but at the same time, you know where the boundaries are, but then at the same time, you know what's going on. Just work with what you got, and also be open to improve yourself and be vulnerable and just say, hey, I'm having a bad day, or hey, I'm actually going through some trouble right now, or hey, I have an idea, let's talk about it. So I think, this is, hopefully that we can make it happen with these videos.
Yes, but sometimes talking about it may not lead to any action. However, you make people aware of the issues. I must say it's not easy for other people who listen to the issues. They may not have the solutions, or they may actually take a long time to realize the extent of the issues or the complexity, the depth of it. You cannot also, when you talk about something to someone, expect that that person can immediately bounce some ideas back and go, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to help you with this. It may not happen that way. Sometimes it happens that way, which is good. But if it doesn't happen that way, we should not hold others account for not responding, because issues are complex,
Yes.
And if you're not the one who is going through the issues, it's even more complex, right? They may not understand the depth of this, and they may not understand what actually causes it, or a combination of things. So both ways, we actually need to acknowledge each other's roles in the sharing of and managing the issues that we have.
Yes, and it's important that when we talk about something like this, that we do be careful with the person that listening to, because, for example, if they're just our friends or colleagues or our boss or whatever, they may be going through something themselves that they haven't told us. So, we need to also take that responsibility and be mindful of it, and so that's why that genuine conversation and having that genuine friendship to develop that with your friends or family or colleagues or just your social circle is very important. And look, let's put it this way. It's like a high fiber meal that some people digest quickly, some people take a long time to digest.
Yeah, that's right. If you talk to my husband, he will take a long time to digest. But I know him very well. So in the beginning, I get really frustrated, right?
I have no idea how I come up with this shit. These metaphors, sorry.
But now I understand we also need to acknowledge the different people with different personality. We can't expect them to be like us all the time. So then he's like, I know he's caring. I know he's dealing it in a different way. So
there you go.
I might just come back 1 week or 2 weeks after and say, what do you think? He will come up with a response. So that's the timing, right?
Well,
have
that's
to
a
set
long
your
digestion,
expectation right.
Yes. I think, just kind of like be open-minded, set your expectation the way that fits, and, and also like, always have in mind to helpfully be like, hopefully to lift each other up and, see how it all goes. And yeah.
Yes. And back to those clips that we watch, the Japanese have their own way of expressing themselves, and they think that this is the funny way of, entertaining people. And the Western way is different, but if you live through those environments, you appreciate the differences, right? And that is how you learn that different people express themselves differently, and you respect that and you accept it. You may not have to live with it. If you don't like it, that's okay. You acknowledge the difference and see if you can play a role in that kind of environment. If not, then you can always get someone else to come in and help out.
Absolutely. Exactly. And yeah, so well, on that note, thank you so much everyone for watching this, and I hope that this is a private topic, so obviously that if you want to reach out to us or start a conversation, you can message us privately on whatever channel that this video is on, like our website, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. And any final thoughts, Monica, that you might want to share?
I would say keep an open mind, Arthur, and also to say it to yourself often. Don't just keep saying to other people. Say it to yourself often, keep an open mind. If you can't find a solution, try again another day.
Absolutely. And and also sometimes that what it feels like a bad day or what it feels like a bad period of time, it won't be bad forever.
That's right.
Well, all right. Well, hopefully that is not too heavy of a video, but I hope you enjoy this. And if you want to find out more about us, our information is underneath this video, and please consider watching another video. And yeah, so thank you so much, Monica, and I hope you have a good day ahead. And wow, this episode really spilled the tea, isn't it?
Yes, it's good, Arthur. It's
good. It is. See ya.
Bye.
I'm stopped recording.